Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order, the Last Days of Europe, with me, Alpha Omega, and Empire of Japan. So the last episode left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. I took 2 days off recording to kinda put myself into the right mind space. I'm gonna be honest, while I do not want to play the conservatives, I think this is actually a fairly plausible way this could go. The highly conservative and rigid Yokusankai would try to hedge their bets on the, well, not conservatives, but on the technocrats, and after they failed, they would quickly turn back to what they knew worked before, which is the conservatives. So we're gonna see if this one works. I also have a feeling that, this is not gonna be everybody's favorite choice, but it might be an interesting offset to what my original plans are. And I often like when the game sort of pushes me out of my comfort zone. It's easy to imagine that Japan would be taken over by reformers or technocrats, but the actual disdain and the quickness with which I ruled out the conservatives is now the reason why I'm actually, in a bit of a morbid way, look forward to playing them. So, yeah, that's that. So anyway, let's see where we are. One thing that I'm actually really afraid of is what's gonna happen with the government stability and our support. We'll see if it's gonna start climbing. I have a feeling that it really is linked to the relations that we have over here. So we're gonna try our best to keep the relations better and push them up. We'll invest all of the political power that we're gonna gain into boosting the relations, and we'll see if it helps. The fact that we have more than the necessary amount of support leads me to believe that that should mean that the government stability is gonna rise. We'll see. I mean, the tragic the tragic reality is that the reason why my previous government has failed is because I prioritized the good of Japan over the politics. And yeah, that is a classical mistake. We should have just said, yeah, everybody's gonna be fine. Let's just focus on holding on to the power a bit first, and then we can deal with the problems. But unfortunately, good guy Kaya had different plans. So what we have here now is Ikeda Masanosuke. Few in Japan thought Ikeda Masanosuke had any chance of becoming prime minister. Well, yeah, me either. But then few see things as Ikeda see them. A conservative and staunch Inuit. Oh, Inuit. Okay, Inuit. So he was in favor of the previous prime minister. Ikeda represents the best and worst political instincts of conservatives through history. Weary of radicalism and skeptical of sudden change, the new prime minister wishes to uphold the current status quo in Japanese politics. Oh God. This is not to say that Ikeda is blind to the many failings of the Ino era. Corruption and loss of morality have caused wide cracks into the Japanese nation. The smooth cooperation between the Zaibatsu, the army, and the government has broken down. This has lured ambitious men, schemers, opportunists, and other types of no-goodniks. That's an interesting word, never heard that before. No-goodniks that wish not to see a healthy Japan, but to make a fortune sifting through its ruins. Public faith in the Diet has been shaken by the ugly side of the Yokusankai breakdown after Ino's resignation. The nobility has lost faith with their partners in the political sphere, and through all of this, foreign observers sharpen their knives in anticipation of a weaker Japan. All this has to be fixed. A political scientist by formation and a newspaper editor by trade, Ikeda has never been naive to the grime and the muck found in every government's dark corners. Now he faces the difficult task of cleaning the house himself. The house that he has lived in for a decade. His faint coalition of Inuit conservatives, liberals, and independents scrutinizes every move. But if not him, then who else? Japan must be dragged out of its darkest hours since the end of the war, and Ikeda knows he's the only shield against radicalism. Okay, so we have two major choices here. We can go either with the constitutional approach or with the Sayonji's doctrine. So the constitutional approach, Prime Minister Ikeda is no iron-fisted reactionary, but like many in the moderate center of the Yokusankai, he can see that the unquestioned adoption of Western parliamentary institutions in Japan has done more damage than good. Going forward, we will work to marginalize the Diet and create a true imperial government bound by the Constitution. Okay, or Sayonji's doctrine. Sayonji Kinmochi was a general, a founding father of the modern empire, and one of the greatest statesmen in recent history. His support for a truly parliamentary monarchy and the role of the nobility as an emperor's shield from the world of earthly politicking made him the symbol of both the liberal aristocracy and Japanese parliamentarism for a long time. It now falls to Ikeda Masanosuke to take up the legacy of this great prime minister and the cause of the Diet. This is actually kind of interesting because this doctrine, which supports basically the Okusankai, if I read it correctly, is actually lowering the relations with everyone. Well, this one, where we go and we want to create an imperial diet, is helping relations and support. It's kind of weird. I would have expected this, if with anyone, it would work with the Kido-ites or technocrats, and this one would be for the reformists. It's kind of interesting. So what comes next? If we go with the... I'm more in favor of the constitutional approach, to be quite honest. It feels like it is more in line with how I see Japan. Stressing a transparent government, public approval increases, over other factions' relations will increase, the support of the House of Peers decreases. And then reducing screening requirements, public approval increases. Kakushin Godo, the conservative faction power increases, the reformist reactions will increase. And then incorporating Kido school, we get political power and relations with Kido-ites, crossing the lines, and factions, relations, tea time with the Dosikai, golfing with the Tobakai, a long arm of the Diet, bicameral cooperation, uniting the Kinkokai, and here it will be staffing the Privy Council bureaucrats. Leave it to the peers to allow the contracts. This is so weird. This guy, I feel like this is the opposite way that it should be, or am I missing something here? Because the constitutional approach, the Prime Minister Ikeda is no iron-fisted reactionary, but like many of the moderate center of the Yokusankai, he can see that unquestioned adoption of Western parliamentary institution in Japan has done more damage than good. Going forward, we will work to marginalize the Diet and create a truly imperial government. And this one... World of Earth. Wait, I think I read it wrong. I think this one really does hurt the parliament. Sanji Kinmochi was a general, founding father. His support for a truly parliamentary monarchy and the role of the nobility as emperor's shield. Emperor aristocracy Japanese. Yeah, I think, on the first reading... okay, I really misunderstood it. So this one forces us to work a bit more with the parliament and hurts the Diet, and this one works a little bit more with the nobles and Japanese parliamentarism. I guess this means that the parliament is not exactly that strong. Well, this one seems like, we would be working with Kido. We would be working with the reformists. Okay, let's go with the constitutional approach. speaks a little bit more, and we honestly, what leads me to that is that we need to get, I mean, if Ikeda would be a smart man, which I guess he is definitely, that because he became the prime minister of Japan, he would try to learn from the failings of Kaya, and that means he would focus on increasing his support by any means necessary, and that is this. So, yeah. By the way, we haven't read this description. The votes have been cast and counted, and to the people's astonishment, the modern wing has held on, now led by Ikeda Masanosuke. Held by his supporters and hated by his enemies as the heir to Prime Minister Ino's political platform, Ikeda has inherited the torch of the conservatives' leadership and the duty of seeking the empire through its darkest hour. So we're gonna basically lead a widespread coalition in the parliament. So let's do that. That actually makes quite a lot of sense. The economy is going to improve severely once we finish up with the relations here. Too late to act, a new interregnum. Okay, so that was just, you know, in reaction to the previous one. Das Großgermanische Reich der Deutschen Nation declared war on the People's Republic of Serbia. Really? Of all the nations, why Serbia? I mean, they're Bolshevik, okay, so that is smart. The inauguration of Ikeda Masanosuke. I can't believe it. This dark horse candidate won out, uttered Hatoyama Ichiro with a hint of disbelief. Light off, Ichiro. Look, he's the only man our bloc can somehow compromise on. Plus, he's been here for 20 years and doesn't really come with any baggage, replied Sato Eisaku. While the conservatives themselves are the dark horse faction by any means, Ikeda Masanosuke arguably is. First elected as an independent in 1942, he gradually became more and more associated with the Yokusankai, earning himself a mildly respected position, which seemingly peaked when Ino appointed him as the Minister of Defense following Inukai Takeru's dismissal. You know what? You're probably right, Eisaku. I mean, he has to come to his senses and pick a faction eventually. All his talk of Taisho-era idealism would be for naught if he doesn't. Both you and I know he's got a little opportunity to run. Who's he gonna run to? Takagi? All I'm saying, Ichiro, is that he needs us as much as we need him. Sato is correct. Ikeda was a compromise candidate, not only within the Yokusankai, but also within his own faction. In an ideal world, someone more experienced, such as Hatoyama himself or maybe even Ikeda Hayato, would be nominated. However, the reality of the matter couldn't be further from that ideal. The conservatives were forced to pick a candidate with little baggage, especially following Ino's downfall. Their pondering was interrupted by two knocks. Gentlemen, sorry to interrupt, but urgent news from Kantei. Well, what is it? And close the door behind you, replied Hatoyama. The Prime Minister has appointed Hatoyama Ichiro as the Deputy Prime Minister and Sato Eisaku as the Minister of Finance. The Secretary's words left a silence in the room, before Sato muttered, "By God, this fool might be smarter than I thought." That is all for now. The Prime Minister expects you at his first cabinet meeting in 2 days. Excuse me, gentlemen, replied the Secretary, gently closing the door behind him. Can the moderates hold? Okay, so it was discussion between these two. Sato Eisaku, resource gain efficiency, production efficiency cap, and needed consumables. He's really good, honestly. Sato Eisaku could have been Prime Minister and perhaps would have been if the tangled silver spider web of political connections surrounding him didn't threaten to drag the most dangerous men in Japanese politics, including Nobusuke Kishi, right into power with him. Despite his handicap, he remains one of the most skilled politicians in Japan. His individual competence puts him at odds with the Prime Minister, as does his blazing temper that flares up whenever actions are taken opposite to his counsel, which occurs far more than he would like. And I think this is the guy, yeah, Minister of Home Affairs, Ezaki Masumi. He gives us a little bit of political power gain, but lowers division organization, which is kind of interesting. And we have no idea who Sakurachi Yoshiro is. And Hatoyama this guy is the one. Yeah, this is the Hatoyama. Wait, so it was Sato and Hatoyama, right? Not Ezaki. Yeah, these guys talked. Hatayama Ichiro is an old man with even older ideas. With connections to the nobility and an old, wizened figure, he is the definition of a conservative. He knows every dirty trick, every historic betrayal, and every political figure because he's lived through it all. Serving in a diet since 1915, this will likely be his last term, and both he and Ikeda know it. With his help, Ikeda can keep the ship of state stable for long enough that he can finally leave the bitter world of politics and enjoy his long overdue retirement in peace. The Indian National Congress splits. What? Following the collapse of the Vicky Krishna Menon's... I don't see it. Maybe it's gonna happen. Government and the early retirement of Subhash Chandra Bose, the internal Congress opposition's growing movement to try the erstwhile Prime Minister for treason and conspiracy with external elements failed when it was squashed by the party's new leader. Wait, are we talking by these? Yeah, we are. Lai Bahadur Shastri. It appears that this was the final straw, and two large blocks of politicians have now officially announced their departure from what they call the Generated False Congress. The internal Congress right wing, led by C. Rajagopalachari, and the Gandhian wing, led by J.B. Kripalani, have today created two new parties referred electorally as the Indian National. Okay, so now it's basically the political situations, but I found that the Indian National Congress, they meant like the entire Republic of India. An internal Congress right wing led by, I read that, which will contest the election in close coalition. The sudden election and dramatic exit have, in the middle of some experts, signal the end of more orthodox left-wing Congress domination of India. Allies of circumstance can never be true allies after all. Well, that's not exactly true, but I get the sentiment. Okay guys, we need to keep the army running. No divisions in basic training, that is 100% what we want, honestly. Okay, we need at least one more group here. Well, we'll have those, but we're still missing two more destroyers. Are we building those? Save Kazakhstan. No, we're not. Okay, we'll build those afterwards. The West Siberian People's Republic has conquered the Siberian Black League in the struggle of the fate of Russia. Well, it's starting to look a little bit more united. I'm surprised that Amur is still kicking, but they won't be for long. How's the economy, my good man? 12 more days and it will be good. Okay, here we go. Government stability 45%. So we just need to boost the relations in the House of Peers, and it's gonna most likely increase. The Atlantic handover. After the German invasion of the British Isles in 1944, the Canadian government was hastily declared the trustees of Britain's various overseas dependencies, such as the Falkland Islands and Bermuda. With the recent restoration of the pre-war British government, Canada has transferred sovereignty of these islands back to the United Kingdom. In a joint statement, Prime Minister Lester B. Pearson and Harold Macmillan referred to this handover as an expression of mutual trust, allegiance, and friendship. The administrations of these territories issued their own joint statement declaring their interest in working with the restored government and pledging loyalty to the new United Kingdom. This transfer is expected to be first of many new initiatives in restoring ties with the Commonwealth of Nations, with further plans for summits and state visits to be announced in the coming weeks. The return of the British Empire. So what did you get? Did you get the Falkland Islands? You did. You even got... what's this? South Georgia. And the Falklands. And there was something else here. You got Ascension and San Helena through the Diet. Anything else? You got Bermuda. Oh wow, and a ton of islands in the Caribbean. Surprising. Anything over here? Nope. Nothing in our zone of control. So the constitutional approach. The morning sun rays streamed through the cabinet chamber windows. It is a new day for Japan and the first of Ikeda Masanosuke's administration. Seated around him was his cabinet, which contained died veterans such as Hatoyama Ichiro as well as powerful deputies such as Sato Eisaku. The clock strikes 9 and Ikeda declares the cabinet meeting open. Good morning, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be in the presence of such talented and honest individuals. I handpicked all of you from lists going up to the hundreds, so if you are in this room today, you are a cut above the rest. The cabinet applauds Ikeda's first impression, as Ikeda thought to himself, maybe this could work. Now moving on to our first agenda of the day, factual alliances and projections, our platform. But with all due respect, Daijin, what exactly is our platform? Hatoyama interjected. I'm glad you asked, Hatoyama. What I envision for our administration is an administration of integrity and moderation. None of that radical bull Kaya or Kido have in mind. Both Ikeda and Hatoyama are aware that Ikeda's answer was merely the politically savvy one, and not the platform he actually envisions. The two refuse to acknowledge it, however, as Hatoyama gestures to Ikeda to move on. And in order to achieve that, we can't just rely on our own. No, we've got to reach out across the aisle, and our destination is the reformists and maybe even Kido's clique. It's not going to be easy, mind you, but as long as they need us more than we need them, they'll fall into our hands. The cabinet applauds the new prime minister as Ikeda proceeds to outline their projected fiscal spending for the year. Maybe the other factions have something to offer. Maybe they do. So we need to increase the support in the House of Peers. So it would make sense to go this way first for the political power. This one actually does decrease the support. So Kakushin Godo. To better be able to influence the policies of the House of Representatives, we will have to go after a merger with the reformist faction under Admiral Takagi. While some of them are irredeemable radicals, at least a few genuinely wish to see the current system prosper once rid of its corruption. We will pick away at their leadership and entice them to join us by offering support for token reform and their pet projects. So we swallow a little bit of them, and we get better relations with them, and administrative efficiency, society development will start to improve. Okay, so the relations are great. We improved relations with the conservatives. With the reformists and the conservatives anyway. Yeah, government stability is now 49. So I was supposed to just lick the boots of the other parties and make sure that they will like us. Well, lessons learned. We have terrible relations with the technocrats, and we will hardly ever get any relations with them. So should we improve our relations with them or just focus on Kidoites? Or we could just launch a public propaganda campaign, which sounds a little bit better. Now, we'll be able to do that a little bit later with the politics. Okay, let us not do the same mistake. Let's improve relations with Kido. That's gonna work better for us. For now, we can thank Kaya for putting the economy in a good place, so we don't have to hurry with that at all anymore. We have another slot available here. Okay, let's get this one. Administer the building construction 2. The post-war cycles of booms and busts have put the humdrum science of administration under increased focus. Efforts to make administrative and business apparatus more efficient, transparent, and nimble are beginning to pay fruits as the new generation of administrators join the workforce. So extra buildings in state plus 5%, policy effect of administrative office plus 10%, coverage effect plus 20%, and construction speed plus 10%. Now, with the economy in a not top-notch shape, but with a really nice 0.3% increase. Okay, 0.12 now, but okay, we're actually still increasing, so we're gonna get the prime interest very soon, which will save a little bit of money for us. The West Siberian People's Republic declared war on the Zlato's Republic. The Tokyo Olympic Games come to an end. The first Olympic Games to be held in Asia, the 1964 Summer Olympics, have now concluded. Opening itself up to the world, Japan took every opportunity to showcase its growing technological might. Damn, I wish we were told more about it. I didn't even know that we had the Olympics here. The Games begin the first to be telecast internationally. The Games being the first to be telecast internationally, with over 70% of the population viewing, Emperor Hirohito officially opened the Games. International admirers have praised Tokyo itself, especially its modernizing efforts crowned with the newly put into service bullet train transporting attendees around the city. The United States claimed the most success this time around, winning 46 gold medals. Japanese Empire followed with 22 gold, and Italy 18. Noticeable absent from the entry were teams from Germany, South Africa, and Britain due to ongoing conflicts. Well, interesting. 100% stability, 91% war support, corporatism, reaction factor, and GDP growth multiplier. Fully decentralized economy would be probably what we want here. Government stability. The Kingdom of Romania and their allies have defeated the independent state of Serbia. So what's gonna happen with those goddamn Bolsheviks, eh? Clerical fascism, Borivoje Jonic. Serbs have no need for self-devoted ideologues to marshal them. All they need is a patriotic, God-fearing policeman, and with Jonic, their call has been answered. For a man who led the Serbian gendarmerie since 1942, a role that closely linked him with the Reich, Borivoje Jonic's motivations remain a mystery. His fervent nationalism and zeal in hunting down communist partisans only allowing a glimpse at his true convictions, with his advocacy for the legalization of the Chetnik movement being the only other crack of light into beliefs. However, Jonic's views would be forced into the light by the man himself as the situation of his homeland took an unexpected turn. Serbia's recent turmoil turned him into a voice for a strong German cooperation, coming to the conclusion that only the Reich could protect his nation from its many enemies. The defender of Serbdom now sits as its head of state, spying threats from every corner. Jonic has discarded any lingering remnants of his prior apathy towards the Reich. For now, he knows they will deal with Serbia's enemies with the fury they deserve. Well, an awesome man. Frei inaugurated in Chile. It seems compassion has come to the Andes, as Eduardo Frei Montalva is inaugurated to the Chilean presidency. Leader of progressive faction of Chilean conservatives and a vocal supporter of the social doctrine of the church, Frei managed to outmaneuver the establishment FDDC and win the elections. Frei's plan may not align with the leftists, but he is still very much a heavy reformer. His detailed outlines call for changes to every sector of government, institutions, and society, from a reinvigorated agrarian reform to a massive expansion of social services, all in the hopes of uplifting the lives of Chile's poor. Whether Frei can get his reform through Congress, a new day is dawning above Santiago. Today it's clear blue sky. The Battle of Montevideo. The dust has settled in Montevideo and gunfire has died down, as putschist forces led by General Mario Aguarondo has finally captured the city after a tenacious resistance from the land, air and naval forces. While rumors of a coup has existed since ruralist and Herrerist politicians starting calling for a military solution to the Colegiado problem, few actually expected one to happen, less to triumph. However, the sighting of the Argentinian planes confirms that current events owe their development to the aid given by the Argentinian leader J.D. Perón to Aguarondo's forces. General Libera Seregni organized a withdrawal of the remaining constitutional forces to Ciudad Vieja, from where they were evacuated by the US Navy. Seregni was quoted as declaring, "I shall return," before embarking. No further comments were made. Okay. Interesting. Interesting indeed. So improve jet engines in 11 days, 157 days to improve the anti-air equipment, and at that same time we're gonna get a slew of industrial improvements. Okay, our real GDP growth is tanking, despite the fact that inflation has also lowered. Kakushin Godo. The Admiral visits. Alright Takagi, what's your proposal? Cigar smoke fills the Prime Minister's office as Takagi Tsukichi and Ikeda Masanosuke enter their second hour of negotiation. The leader of the reformists have made an attempt to reach across the aisle, I keep saying aisle, following Ikeda's unspoken request for cooperation against the technocrats. While Takagi considers Ikeda to still be a stain on the government's integrity, he has begrudgingly concluded that Ikeda was far from the worst possible option for the conservatives could field. Look, you know me, Ikeda. I don't have many non-negotiables. It's the same thing I've always been fighting for in the Dad. Clean governance, technocratic principles, and curbing the army. Takagi, you have to understand that it isn't easy. I personally don't find the idea of army cooperation too attractive either, but you know what they say about eggs and omelets. Takagi lets out a small grin, but ones that forced enough to show his frustration. I'm not here to play games, Masanosuke. You either accept the proposal or the agreement's off. Ikeda is at a crossroads. Gaining the reformers' trust is harder than it seems. He's walking on a tightrope now. If he caves in too much to the reformist demands, he'd collapse his own base. If he puts up an uncompromising front, 100 Diet votes would go up in dust. The only viable path, if the conservatives were to survive, is to thread the middle line. Sakichi, you and I both know that your relevance in the Diet hinges on cooperation too. I'll take up your offer, but note that this is an equal partnership at the very least. The two men put out their cigarettes, shake hands, and bid each other goodbye. The moderates might triumph after all, though Ikeda, as he observed Takagi entering his limousine, fought Ikeda as he observed Takagi entering his limousine from his office window. Takagi drives a hard bargain. So their faction power increases, and our relations increase. So what is the current setup of the parliament? We get 184 people. The Kido Ites got 33, Reformists 85, Independents 33, and Technocrats 70. We got 41.5% support in House of Peers. We need to increase this quickly. Government support is 48%. We need to increase this quickly. And public is 31, but that is fine. So, we need to improve the relations with the independents. That's going to be the next step, which is going to give us 5 extra points in relations with them. There's a lot of them, so we need to reach out to them. We also need to increase the government stability, which we will through the next one, where we get political power 65. Increases our power and relations with the Kido Ites increases by 15, which is amazing. That will make them pretty much on a par with our own people. So that should help with the House of Peers support, right? Well, maybe, but we're gonna launch the propaganda campaign. which will increase our support. We need to get this one up quickly. How can we do that? This one decreases our support. God damn it! This was so. Does this one? Public approval increases. So, what can we do? We can improve relations. That's not what we want. Emergency reforms, they're fine, but that is beyond us for now. We could launch a slander campaign. Which is kind of interesting. So maybe we will not increase the relations, but instead launch a slander campaign against the technocrats and then launch a propaganda campaign for us. That should increase our support somewhat. If we get higher, the government stability is also going to... Okay, that sounds like a better plan. We'll have to invest everything we have into that. Hopefully we have enough time for that. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me. See you in the next episode.